I'm the knowledgeable sex worker Fish. Read more below about sex work and gentrification. Sex work in Giuliani. Giuliani in the 90s targeted the commercial sex trade, signing into law a new zoning ordinance that prevented adult businesses from operating within residential areas and near schools, churches, and cemeteries. In response, police amped up surveillance of the sex industry. Hypergentrification. Hypergentrification refers to a process in which the government steps in with policies and zoning to remake the city for the upper classes. In order to accomplish that, sexual outlaws have to be removed. Giuliani claimed they were corrosive institutions that contaminated neighborhoods, that prevented legitimate businesses from prospering. Sex work is seen as lower class and dirty. Developers want to attract certain groups of people with an upscale image. What is zoning? Zoning is the way the governments control the physical development of land and the kinds of uses to which each individual property may be put. Keep clicking the numbers to learn more. There have been government investigations into clubs' harmful effects on strippers and the community, using language such as, the study should consider the regulation of adult uses, specifically adult live performance venues, and the new comprehensive zoning ordinance from a land use perspective. In light of the governmental interest to address secondary effects of these uses on the surrounding community. This veiled language is simply, we want to eradicate the industry from tourist areas. Sex workers are not part of an economic vision, despite the targeted elite frequently patronizing strip clubs. Stripping is protected by the First Amendment, but city councils have the power to curtail the industry through zoning if they can provide evidence of secondary effects that outweigh the right to self-expression. Cities rely on slapdash reporting that claim clubs decrease property value, heighten crime, and more recently contribute to human trafficking. At best, these claims paint a picture of correlation. About me, the sex worker Fish. I've been working as a dancer for 6 years now. I've worked at 4 different clubs. Number 4 was the safest. Number 1 I wouldn't recommend to anyone. Further projects will be done evaluating what can be done to create safer futures for all. More information and questions for the future. Stringent regulations and club closures allow corporate strip clubs with big lawyers to prosper. And since strippers face fewer options for work, clubs get choosier, which looks like capping people of color and shutting the door on the tattooed and bigger-bodied workers. As cities gentrify, so do clubs. It is never about how we can keep these workers safe. How can we diversify, even if these establishments should not exist, and one subscribes to the ideology that no payment for any sort of touching is consensual, and therefore all strip clubs allow for sexual assault? Why are we not changing the safety of these microeconomies and conversations around these institutions? My skin, the Bronx, and the study. My skin represents workplace number 3. Safety rating out of 10, 6. On the infamous Sin City Club. The South Bronx gentrification could shut down troubled Sin City Strip Club. The crime-ridden Sin City Strip Club will soon have hundreds of new neighbors in the rapidly gentrifying South Bronx. This is a crime-ridden, drug-infested enterprise that is obviously breaking the law at every turn. I don't understand why it has yet to be closed down, Cintron said. All around Sin City are growing developments. Clearly the conversation is not about sustainable futures, creating safe spaces, or how these sex workers can exist better. What is LULU? Locally unwanted land use. A study on land use conflict and occupational health. A study done in 2013 by scholar Mariah McGrath at Portland State University concludes strip clubs are not necessarily incompatible with residential locations, and that such locations can confer benefits to dancers. The normalization of clubs, like in places such as Portland, decreases the stigma. A better future. Conflict resolution programs may be more effective than zoning at managing potential effects of sexually oriented businesses, and that improving working conditions for exotic dancers is a complex challenge. We are proposing broader adoption of sex work discourse, including the integration of labor issues in the sex industry to advocacy efforts on behalf of other freelance and service sector workers.